Hey everyone, let me adjust this just a bit. Perfect. Hey everyone, how is everyone doing? If you want to drop in the chat how your day is going, that would be great. Um, Welcome to Community Fit, and in particular, welcome to a brand new series of Reset and Restore. Last month in this class, we worked explicitly with the nervous system on some self-regulation and auto-regulation practices and how to use that in terms of focus and pendulation techniques. No worries, all of that will be on the internet very, very soon. And in particular, all of that, well, a lot of it is already there. If you go to our YouTube page, a lot of it is there. We are pivoting for this month and going specifically into tension. And if you are brand new to this class, know that this class runs sort of as a class and as a course. Why? Because I can't tell you, everyone out there, how to regulate your nervous system, what will get rid of tension, and the next month, what you need in order to rest and restore to the fullest capability. Why? Because it's all based upon personal experience, personal preferences, lived experiences, genetics, so on and so forth. What we get here is some context around whatever it is we're talking about, and then a library of choices and options. And then with more and more attendance, a discernment level of knowing when to use what, which tool to pull out of the toolkit and how to use it. So what we're talking about throughout this month is tension. And why tension? Well, tension is much less frequent a result of sleeping wrong on a pillow. It's not often the result of that really good workout, right? That's muscle soreness. It is not the result of so many of the excuses, so many of the things that we blame tension on. Tension is the physical manifestation of stress, overwhelm, anxiety, and trauma in the body. It is that nervous system dysregulation that we worked with last month. It is that manifesting itself in a very physical way. It is the way your body tells you something is amiss here. And sometimes that amiss is for a very good reason. That's why you kind of check in with the nervous system regulation tactics, or it's worth some examination. Is what I'm experiencing right now uh, qualifying to the degree of tension that I have? Meaning, do I feel this tense because it's warranted? Is something actually going on that my body is trying to tell me and warn me about? More often, what ends up happening is we symptomize with tension in the body because the nervous system stuff goes unchecked, because we are disembodied or hyper vigilant over what is going on, even if we don't have any control, even if we don't have any impact over what's going on. When we think about, we have the same nervous system, the same genetic coding that we have had for hundreds of thousands of years. Problems, even 200 or 300 years ago, would have been more things that would have stressed us out, would have been not having enough food. And while that problem still exists for most of us here today, that problem isn't really something that we worry about on an everyday basis. It certainly happens all over the place. For most of us, that's not happening. Or life being physically in danger. Someone is chasing us, something is chasing us. They are immediate threats that usually there is a quick resolution to. As long as I find food, it's over. As long as I get out of the way of danger, it's over. And our bodies know how to process and metabolize that version of stress. Modern stress, like I have so much to do at work and it seems never ending. I live so far away from my family. or too close to my family, and that creates an impact there. I watch the news and I digest what's going on in the world, and I don't have any impact, and yet it just keeps coming at me. COVID came on and left just as suddenly, and I don't know how to contextualize all of that. Modern stress, overwhelm, anxiety that doesn't have a clear line of a beginning and an end often sets into our body with tension. So, how do we resolve that? Well, you can start with some of those nervous system regulation practices we covered last month. That has an impact on the tension. Or you can start with the physical body work, and it then has an impact on nervous system regulation. It's a continuum, and it doesn't matter where you get on the train, because all train stops are connected. So we're on the same bus as long as you are working on it, as long as you are aware and practicing something. So for some people, direct nervous system work is the answer, and I love that. And for some people, more of this physical touch work that we're going to be exploring this month has a greater impact or is more accessible, or you just get it. It just fits into your lifestyle better. I think it's better to have as many tools as possible. So as we explore and play, know that we have not totally switched gears. We weren't doing nervous system work last month, and now we're doing like muscle work this go around. It is all interconnected. We are working on the same things, and I'm going to do my best job to handhold and bridge that experience for you, so that whether you are working on yourself or whether you want to share these practices with other people, you have a little more understanding, a little more languaging about what is going on when your shoulders are tense, when your jaw is tense, when your belly is upset, so on and so forth, and how that is connected to stress, overwhelm, anxiety, and trauma. Okay, so we're going to start in the same way that we have been starting for the last few weeks. It's the same way that we tend to start in all of the reset and restore classes. It's an invitation for you to take a look at, to be with, to do a little focusing in on what is the current experience of your physical body? What are you noticing? What feels good? What doesn't? If you've been with me, where's the red area? Where's the blue area? What is the pendulation process in between those? If you're brand new, just noticing, what maybe do my feet feel like? What's the quality of my back right now? Where am I enjoying a physical sensation? Where am I not? And then switching gears into the thought body, meaning what is my thought experience right now? What am I thinking about? Am I present? Am I clear-headed? Is my mind racing? Am I thinking about what am I going to have for lunch, or what is that project or a problem, an issue, or am I relatively present within my thoughts? And then that emotional body. What's the vibe of the moment? Am I anxious? Am I joyful? None of them are good at all. Not a single one of those is good. It's just options and choices, because none of them are bad. They're just physical, um, thought, cognitive, and emotional experiences, perceptions of experiences that you are having in real time. None of them are good. None of them are bad. They're just all like at the same buffet. And you're just noticing what's present. Now, I'm going to choose to start this course kind of from the chest up. And this is where we're going to work. Now, we have several more weeks together to work on physical tension. So if you're someone who's like, yeah, I don't ever experience tension from the head up, which is highly unlikely. We all do in some way or another, and we'll kind of talk about that. But if you tend to hold your tension in your low back or your hips or whatever, we'll get there in the future. Again, this is a course as much as it is a class, so that when you reflect and look back on these in the future, you can prioritize and view them in a way that is organized and makes sense, instead of just kind of thrown all over the place. So for today, we're going to start kind of upper body. Let's dive in. Let's bring your hands together and get them warmed. We're going to take our nice warm hands We're going to put them on our jaw. And we're going to kind of push in and drag down a bit. Pushing in, dragging down. If I'm on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm pushing in and dragging down at about a 3 or a 4. So I'm not squishing and tractioning. It's a gentle in and a gentle down. And I'm just going to breathe. And then I can take my fingers and kind of just go into the jaw a little bit. So many of these practices are things that we unconsciously, implicitly just do when we're tense or stressed or feeling some kind of way. And what we're doing is just naming and practicing explicitly some of these tools. Here in the jaw, not only are we working the muscles, but we're working trigeminal nerve complex. You don't need to know that. Just know that there are nerves in the jaw that kind of interdigitate or go across the face and here and go down into some of the nerves that when um, therapeutically touched, like we're doing right now, have a ripple effect through the muscles and the nervous system of the body, and it settles for most of us. Some people, if you don't like this, skip it. And we're going to kind of go around the bottom of the jaw. And then even kind of underneath the jaw here, I like to now use my finger, my thumbs a little bit. And then I'm going to go around my hairline. Now, I'm choosing to do like a little circular action. You could do some fingertip taps. You could just hold. In fact, play with that. Do fingertip taps. Circles work better for you. Then take a little breather and just notice. Now, you may notice that tension in the face has changed. You may also notice that tension elsewhere in the physical body may have shifted. Why? Because I don't need to work on the spot that is tense in order for it to have a ripple effect, right? It's think of us, think of you as a bucket of water or a pool, right? If I drop a liquid into the pool, if I drop something in the pool, it's in the pool. It's in the container. I don't need to go to all areas of that bucket of water to change it. I put one thing in and things change. That's how our nervous system and our bodies are designed. One thing changes in the thoughts, it changes the physical and the emotional body. Emotional body, one thing changes, it changes the physical and thought body, so on and so forth. So, was that valuable for you or not? Then we're going to take and warm up our hands. We're going to take right hand onto left side of the throat. I'm going to let my head look to the right. Right hand, left throat, face looks to the right. As it drags to the middle, I'm going to twist my face to look towards the left. All I'm using is a big, heavy hand, opposite hand. I'm on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm at about a 3 or a 4 here. Big, heavy hand, jaws to middle, and I twist. Big, heavy hand. Big, heavy hand. For good measure, one more each side. And last one over here. And then just noticing. Noticing anything that's changed in the physical body, the thought body, anything in that pendulation practice. And if you're like, I don't know the pendulation practice, just noticing. You can come back to the pendulation practice, and we will in future classes. Then fingertips, taking them onto the nose, and just, you got your cheekbone right here. If you go underneath that cheekbone, just kind of dragging. Here, I'm choosing to push a little firmer. I'm about a 6 or a 7 here, because that's what I like. You might be different. And then just kind of placing your fingertips on your closed eyes. So eyes closed, just pushing. And I'm almost pushing my eyes at about a 3 into the skull a little bit. I'm just going to breathe. And then going right underneath wherever your personal eyebrows end, just going underneath there, and just kind of massaging around the eyebrow area. And you'll feel you are on that bone. And if you go underneath that bone and kind of push up just gently, here out of 1 to 10, I'm at about a 2. I'm just going to push and then move a little out and push upwards, push upwards, push upwards. And go back and do it one more time. Then hands get warmed again. This time they're going to go behind the neck. Now my hands behind my neck are about like this. They're not overlapped. They're fingertip to fingertip. And they're right at the top of the neck, bottom of the skull. Once they're there, they're going to just do like a little ginger massage there, just like the smallest little bit. Elbows don't need to be wide. They don't need to be close together. They're just relaxed. Then I'm just going to let them relax a bit. And they're kind of dragging and pulling apart from one another, fully relaxed. And then my nose is going to start to make a circle. And can I notice that movement right underneath my fingertips? It's as if right at the top of the neck, bottom of the skull, I'm feeling the movement underneath my fingertips. And then reverse. Now, if that worked for you, great. If you're ready for next step, circle the first way again, and without the use of your fingers, can you notice movement at the upper neck, bottom of the skull? And then reverse. Then next up of this, pick something to softly look at in front of you. Don't stare at it. It's kind of like you're just receiving whatever's in front of you. Soft focus. Can you stay softly focused on whatever is in front of you and move that nose in a circle, noticing movement in the neck and noticing any sticky areas. For me, if it's a circle, there's a sticky area here for me, bottom left-hand side. So I'm going to go and I'm really going to slow down through here. Slow down. Your sticky area is likely somewhere different than mine. And then reverse. and then relax. Check in, notice what you notice. If you want to put anything in the chat, now would be a great time. From there, bringing your hands together, getting them warmed. When I say bring your hands together and get them warmed, if this doesn't work for you, you don't have to do this. If you don't, if having warm hands is difficult to bring them together, you can use like a heated massage tool as well. Then we're going to take our right hand onto left collarbone. We're just going to start to do a little bit of a trace. This has also been covered in Move Lab, but the quality of shoulder and arm movement and tension has a lot to do with the quality of how liberated, free moving, embodied the collarbone is. So when we are thinking, and when I say shoulder, I mean everything from the neck down into the arm. So spending some time with the collarbone is often highly beneficial. Making sure I'm tracing all the way from the inside of that collarbone all the way to the outside. Here, if I'm on a level 1 to 10, I'm pressing at about a 4. It's not super heavy, but it's certainly felt. Then I'm going to go underneath that collarbone. That's where the pec muscle is. And then I'm going to go above the collarbone. And that's where we get some of these like scalene neck muscles. I'm just moving through here. Now, I like to get my hands warmed again. Now I'm going to go underneath this and just put my hand on bare skin. And I'm going to push into my collarbone and drag it down. I'm doing that push and that drag. Again, at about a 3. And then I'm just going to tilt my head away from wherever it is I'm pushing and dragging. And I'm just going to move through that. Now, what is helpful for me here is to go into my orientation practice, noticing what's in the room. Painting, light, plant, air vent, mirror, door. I'm just naming and noticing. And then come back to your center. And just notice any differences between the right and your left side, the side that has been worked on and the other side. Let's continue with the same side you've been on. So I was working on my left collarbone, so I'm going to take my right hand, warm right hand, and I'm going to put it into my left armpit. Now, underneath that armpit, or inside of that armpit, is a very important brachial plexus. And what a plexus of nerves, brachial nerve, plexus. What a plexus is a collection. It's like an intersection of nerves. And we have them in our groin, we have them in the armpit, you have them at the bottom of your feet, and there are a few other areas. Those are areas that are highly smart nerve locations. So you don't need to do a lot of work. We don't need to push, we don't need to poke, we don't need to prod. The warmth will do it. So we're just going to be here. And then just kind of noticing any differences between the side that's been worked on and the other side. Let's have one more location to work on this side, and then we're going to repeat it over on the other side. Your pec muscle, whether it's a developed pec muscle, it's like a really robust pectoralis muscle, or it's not, is really big, it's really complicated, it's a really cool muscle. When your arm is down, those muscle fibers kind of wrap inside of themselves. And when I lift my arm, those muscles kind of wrap open and then they wrap close. They unwrap, and then they wrap. So I can take my right hand, and if I go fingertips kind of in the armpit, whether you have a big pec muscle or a small one, you can, when you put your arms down, you can kind of feel it. When you lift, you'll get like some meat underneath your fingertips there. So we are not necessarily down in like breast tissue. Where we are is up in the meatier portion of that muscle in the armpit area. So I'm going to hold it. I'm going to kind of grip it a bit. And I'm going to pull it gently away from the ribs, right? So I'm gripping and I'm pulling a bit, like I'm pulling that imaginary pec muscle, or where you imagine your pec muscle to be, out of the armpit. And then I'm going to lift, and I'm going to even pull it a little bit more. And I'm going to go down here. This particular muscle, because we don't lift our arms a lot, gets kind of grimy, gets kind of stuck, and causes some shoulder tension, causes some breathing issues. And then rest. And notice any differences between right and left side. Now, let's do the other side. Bring it together. This time I'm going to show you what this might look like at speed. Because if you have 30 minutes to do this work, great. But it doesn't need to take 30 minutes. I can go underneath. And I can go on top. These can be quick things that you can fit into your desk routine, pre-bed, before you go for a walk, while you're watching TV, any of these. I'm going to go in here, and I'm doing that collarbone traction, pushing in, pulling down, orientation. Oh, armpit. And pec. Then just kind of moving your shoulders. And I always start with the circular thing because this is something we're all familiar with, right? Like there's something magical about this, but then I can go one side or the other. I can let it move through my ribs. I can reverse it. I could pick them up and let them drop. And then I can just kind of shake it all out. Ah, and then just noticing. From there, I'm going to introduce you to what's called a guppy breath, coming from the somatic experiencing lineage. All it is a gentle opening and closing the mouth. Again, working this trigeminal nerve. Guppy breath, you could do an inhale and an exhale, but it's really just a movement of the mouth. It's just, I'm going to demo it. And what you're doing is noticing the tension in the jaw. I could, if I wanted to, really open. It's not that I can't, it's not that I'm limited. What I'm looking for is, where is that resistance? And can I get a little deeper into the resistance each time? One more. And then take an inventory. What do you notice? What are you going to take with you? What one or two things felt important? What did you learn from that? What are you going to practice? whether you want to drop it in the chat or just take it with you. And then make sure you join us again next week for more Move Lab Foundations, Move Lab Dynamic, and another Reset and Restore here on Friday, where we're going to continue the theme of working with tension as our inlet into self-regulation. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, James. I was just seeing there's something in the
Mhm.
Okay, just wondering about the recording. So I did put a link in the chat to our YouTube recordings. We do have our past recordings from other sessions. It's probably going to be a couple of months before we get this session up, but it will eventually be posted. But for right now, the link is in the chat, and that is where you will go for all of our recordings. So great class today, James. Thank you. I needed that very, very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Someone says they don't see the link. Can you drop it in?
Let me repost it. Maybe
again?
they
Yeah.
weren't on. Let's see.
Yeah, if they weren't on, then it didn't show up for them.
Okay, I'm gonna do it again right now. Is it there?
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone. It's good to see you, James. Thank you, Raymond. And we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.